Hi guys, it's V from I Can Grow in That. It has been quite a long time since I've done like an official video, and I wanted to get down to a question that I've been getting often, which is, do I even grow food anymore? Yes, actually I do, but I'm officially a beginner again. I am in the birds. I am in a completely different climate. There's new pests. It's a new area. There are quite a few things that are completely different, and I want to explain to you guys kind of the process I've been going through and maybe what to expect. So for starters, rainy season is no joke. Rainy season is 8 months out of the year. So we have rainy season and we have dry season. And then for 2 weeks during rainy season, we have like 2 dry magical weeks, and then it's back to raining every day. Now, as far as the rain schedule, it typically starts raining around 2 o'clock. On average, it's about 2 o'clock. It could be as early as 11 o'clock. It can be as late as like 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock. And sometimes it doesn't rain every single day, but it's gonna rain 5, 6 days out of the week during rainy season in my area for sure. So let's get to the topic of food. By the way, check out my shirt. I have successfully grown every single one of these, and I love this shirt. Let's talk about food. I plan to grow potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, squash out here called chayote, some medicinals I've never done before, and now I have a few fruit trees. I have bananas, three different kinds of bananas, as well as a lemon tree. Right before I arrived, they had been dealing with some sort of disease that attacked every single citrus tree except for the massive lemon tree. So the mandarin tree died off. I think there's another native lemon or lime, and that died off from whatever it was. So I'm down to 1 lemon tree. The other ones need to be chopped. They weren't very big, so that's okay. And we can just start over. Now, another thing is that in Costa Rica, if you want to grow food, you need a greenhouse. There's no way around it. Now, it doesn't have to be like an official like greenhouse that we're used to in the States that keeps everything warm. It's literally just some kind of structure you build up that has like a clear top for the sun to go through. You don't need the walls. You just need something to protect your veggies from all the rain. I have been plant shopping every day, trying things in so many different ways, mostly going with flowers. I've started some seeds, but I'm actually in a much different climate than most people in Costa Rica. I'm in a very cool climate. It's in the high 50s to low 60s at night, and it's in the high 70s at the hottest days, mid 70s on the hottest days, high 70s probably in dry season. But it really doesn't get over 80 degrees here much. It doesn't get into the 90s or 100s. It's still very sticky and humid, but it's much cooler, and half the time I have goosebumps because I grew up in the desert. So if it's like under 72, I'm cold, I need a jacket. So that's kind of the climate I'm dealing with. So initially when I thought Costa Rica, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so warm, I'm just gonna throw seeds and everything's gonna grow like a jungle. Well, I did Tiff's from Stead in the City, her seed bomb thing. None of mine have sprouted. It is nowhere near warm enough. I've tried starting my tomato seeds, my zinnia seeds, broccoli, lettuce, kale. The lettuce, kale, and broccoli germinated. The zinnias, tomatoes, and squash still refuse to germinate, whether they're in the house, whether they're outside. It just does not get warm enough. And I don't have a heater here. I don't have AC at all. I don't need it. So I have to find a seedling mat. I've been to multiple nurseries, like the Lagar, which is kind of like a Home Depot, and things like that. When I asked for a seedling mat, they're kind of like, no, we don't have that. So I don't know. And it's very weird because I have this natural compost pile that they've built and I've been keeping up with, and stuff germinates in there all the time. Random tomatoes, random squashes that I don't know what they are, random papayas and guava trees and things like that. So weeding is a whole nother level when you're using your own compost. I feel like my compost is really composting the seeds, which is fine, but I want to know what and why those tomatoes are just popping up like weeds, so I have to pull them away from like my dahlias and in my potted plants from the soil that I've used, and why my tomato seeds aren't germinating. It's neither here nor there, but you absolutely need a greenhouse in order to grow food here. So for this particular place that I'm at, I'm very limited in my space. There are a lot of plants here, a lot of marginatas and palms and banana trees and the lemon tree and this beautiful other tree and so many trees. So I don't have a lot of sun in this area that I'm in for the next year or two. So I'm having to work with what I have. And in the greenhouse that I have 4 beds. One bed is on the edge of the greenhouse. It looks like there used to be a clear thing over it, but now there isn't. So I don't know. I'm gonna think about getting something over that so I can use that. But it is a huge difference between what's growing in the 3 that's covered and what's able to grow in the one that's not covered. So the one that's not covered, I've tried putting tomatoes, I've tried putting lettuce, I've tried, just yesterday I put cilantro. The only thing that's really doing well in that bed is the celery. So I went ahead and moved the celery from, it was like really overgrown, from one of the other beds that's covered, and I put it in the one that's uncovered because parsley is in the celery family, and since celery seems to be taking the beating for the rain in that little bed just fine, I figured parsley will do just as well. So this year I won't necessarily be growing like 50 tomato plants, and that makes me sad. But I'm working with what I've got, and there's so much else to be grateful for, and there's so many other ways. It's just getting me back in my creative mind of, I'm still in a temporary place. I don't want to do too much altering or chopping down of trees or ruining of what they've created. But I am thinking about getting a bucket stand, so I need to buy tools again. I have to buy a drill, I have to buy a saw, and I have to go find where wood is and the screws, and that's a whole thing. So yeah, that's gonna be a hassle. But that's what I'm hoping will happen. I've got a couple areas that I could put like 2 bucket stands, and those bucket stands I would probably do broccoli, cabbage, and peppers. Like I would transfer, peppers get so big though. It'd have to be some of those like one-time veggie things, because here's the thing about here that I have to keep in mind why I switched it from peppers. So I was gonna say I could do my peppers in my 5-gallon buckets like I used to do back home. But peppers here are like pepper trees. Like they don't stop growing because there's no frost. So they just keep growing. In my mind, I need in my bucket something that's gonna stay fairly small, not outgrow, and then I'll have to find room for it later. So we're gonna think about the peppers, but I think I will keep that for maybe cabbages, cauliflower, maybe even some squash. And I think that would do me wonders. I'm also planning on growing potatoes in feed bags again. They have had like a difficult time growing potatoes. I do have a sweet potato patch, but regular potatoes, they said they've had a difficult time growing, and that just is like in my mind to be like, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. So I wanna try growing it in the feed bags. Maybe the soil is too rocky or whatever the case may be. But bucket stands and potatoes and feed bags are like the next new additions, other than I have like these rock stairs, kind of like my little own fairy gnome rock garden. And I want to put fancy plants like Pink Princess and the Alba Monstera and another Alba Monstera, and just a really flashy, like, oh, this is my outdoor, indoor houseplant dream, because these are all still plants that I dream of having, right? So the help I'm receiving right now, oh gosh, it's so hard. So I'm learning everything again. I don't have Jess from Roots and Refuge, or gosh, what's her name? Oh, she's my favorite from You Can't Eat Grass. There's no video showing me how to do things in this climate, how to get through rainy season, how any of that, but I can kind of put all my knowledge together and really work around this. It really is experimenting. Like, for instance, I bought tons of daisies. I want daisies as a successful cut flowers for my bouquets. I've tried them in the ground. They don't like the ground during rainy season. Rainy season really isn't the best growing season. Not a lot grows in the rain. So with rain comes extra mildew, more slugs, waterlogged plants, root rot, all these things, right? So dry season is the best to grow, but I didn't move here to grow 4 months out of the year. So we're gonna figure it out, whether it's with containers. I don't care if I have to move these containers or whatever I may do. Like, I'm gonna be growing food. So I'm back to square one, pen and paper, really trying to figure out how much food can I grow in this small space. I do have a worm farm, so I am going to be getting my worm tea together. My tomato plants they finally have green tomatoes on them, so it's about time to do their fertilizing and get them really kicked up. My dahlias just started blooming, so they should be getting worm tea and things like that. So I'll have to go find a trash can, like a 30-gallon trash can, to do my worm tea in, and also find a plug somewhere that's in the shade, but also to where I'm not having to go up and back down the rock stairs to fertilize my stuff if I put it on the deck, which I really don't want to do. But if I have to, I have to. It is what it is. Another thing are the leaf cutter ants. Leaf cutter ants, they are so neat. You can literally, you'll see the leaf cutter ants going down or on their trail. You can put your hand in the middle of them, and they're big red. They look like the really mean fire ants in California. And they're carrying leaves, and you can like put your hand or your foot right on them in their way, and they'll just walk over you. Like, they have a job to do. They don't have time to bite. That's not what they're here for. They are worker ants, and that's what they're doing. They're working, and it is magnificent to see. They will clear out the tiny patch of grass too, like a 2-inch thick trail of like where they're going, and they take it all to their nest. Well, as magnificent as they are, they're detrimental to the garden. They will take every single leaf from that plant and leave it leafless to where it cannot photosynthesize, cannot bear fruit, cannot live, and it just dies. So for some reason, roses are on that list. They love roses. My landlord told me, I was out plant shopping with my landlord, Miss Monica, and she told me about roses and how the leaf cutter ants, every time she gets a rose, they just take it out. So I got 2 roses, and I sprayed with bug spray, like bug stuff that, you know, not organic, but I was trying to find something. Listen, it's flowers. I don't really care if the flowers are super organic, and it's just one pot. So I sprayed the actual pot with bug stuff, and that rose is flourishing. The one I did not spray with bug stuff, I did not spray the pot that I put it in with bug stuff, that has like 3 leaves. I don't know if it's gonna come back. I surely hope that it does, and the leaf cutter ants leave it alone, but it's stripped it of all its leaves. Currently, the leaf cutter ants are going after my lemon tree. So I guess what we're gonna have to do, what I've been told to do, is we did a little sprinkle the little poison on their trail, and they take the poison to the nest. But rainy season makes it difficult. You don't want the poison raining into the soil. Not that you would put a ton, but still want to be as organic as possible. And also it just washes it away. So if it washes it away, it doesn't get to the nest, and then they're still taking down your tree. So that's very unfortunate. I don't want to lose my lemon trees, so we're gonna have to figure something out. But that's just one of my obstacles, leaf cutter ants. Here are the list of obstacles that I can think of off the top of my head that I have to deal with. So one is the volcanic rock. I have extremely rocky soil. They're beautiful rocks, beautiful volcanic rocks, pumice stone I can basically find digging up. It's actually really cool. Except when you want to grow potatoes and carrots and things that need a root system, right? So that's kind of been a challenge. Luckily, I do have a massive compost pile, and I can just use those rocks to build a bed and fill it up, and there's ways around it. And we have this neat little rock extractor, and you know, that's how I keep my mussels. But chickens, I love them so much. They're so sweet, and they follow me around the garden, and they're the sweetest things ever. But I have to watch what I put in the yard. They don't care about monsteras and all that stuff, so I'm doing more decorative things in the backyard, except in the greenhouse area. In the greenhouse area, it's fenced off. The chickens can't get in there, though I have planted the greenhouse probably 3 or 4 times because I've accidentally left the gate open and the chickens got in and ruined everything. So it's been a slow start to getting my garden fully going. Do we love these braids, right? Okay, anyways, another thing is the weather. Like I said, it's much cooler here. I'm actually doubting if it's gonna be warm enough for me to grow anything other than cherry tomatoes. I'm wondering if I'll end up getting enough sun and heat for my golden jubilee and my early girl and all the big slicer yummy delicious tomatoes that I love to grow. I do love cherry tomatoes, but I cannot only have cherry tomatoes. It's just we're gonna have to figure something out. Mildew. So far I've only dealt with mildew on these dwarf tomato plants. I've gotten dwarf tomato plants from the Lagar, and I've gotten 4 or 5 of them, and every single time they get attacked by white powdery mildew and they just die off. I don't know what's going on, honestly, with that. And also my daisies, they just tend to get mildew, especially when they're in the ground. So I'm actually in the process. I have 2 more to pull up out of the ground and put them in pots. I had them out front, exposed to all the rain in pots, and I don't think they really like that either. So I'm actually putting them in neat little areas in the greenhouse. I have 2 or 3 of them in there and a dahlia. I just want to see how the dahlias are growing out in the rain. I have 1 in ground exposed to everything, and she is flourishing. I have 1 in a pot, a pretty decent sized nursery pot, and she seems to be doing very good. She has a lot of buds. I expect blooms within a week or 2 because they're little buds. The other one that's in the ground exposed to everything and all the rain as well, she is doing magnificent. So I have 1 that I just put in the greenhouse yesterday, and we're gonna see how she lasts and does compared to the other ones. 1 in soil exposed to everything, and the 1 in the pot out front exposed to all the rain. So this is kind of like all science experiments. I get a bunch of plants. I know you guys see me plant shopping and probably don't see a whole lot because I'm just experimenting. I'm like, okay, we're gonna put 1 this way, 1 in this situation, 1 in this situation, and see who completely fails, who does all right, and who flourishes. That way I can figure out just what I'm doing, right? So what am I growing right now? Right now I'm growing, let me try to walk myself through the greenhouse. So I have chile dulces, which are sweet chili, sweet peppers, jalapenos. I have some other peppers, I don't know what they are, but I think they're sweet peppers. They were here before I got here. I think it was like 1 in there. And then I have tomatoes. I honestly don't know what tomatoes I have. I forgot, but I have quite a few. And then I went and trimmed them and stuck the trimmings like directly in the soil and watered them. I typically take my propagations of my tomatoes and put them directly in bottled water just because I don't want to risk it, but I felt a little risky and I'm like, I want to try the whole just shoving them straight in the soil like everyone else does and see how that does. So I've done that. So we have multiple different kinds of cherry tomatoes. They're all cherry tomatoes. And then I have lettuce, lechuga. I have blue butterfly peas, and I also have a cucamelon growing. I have not been able to get a squash growing, but there's some random squash from my compost pile that popped up, and I really don't know what it is, but I'm excited to find out, and I'm just gonna let it do its thing. I'm growing celery. I'm growing jamaica, which is the hibiscus tea. And as far as flower, oh yeah, I have asparagus, and I have sweet potatoes, and I have green onion, and I have cilantro. And that's all that I have right now. I'm gonna be working on rooting potatoes from the store or sprouting them or whatever, put them in a dark drawer for them to push out some little sprouts, and I could put them in some feed bags. I have a little section in my garden that I want to do for fancy houseplants like the pink princess, apple monsteras, and things like that. I have coleus growing, zinnias, dahlias, margarita flowers, and gazanias growing. I also have geranium, and I have some petunias in some baskets. I have quite a bit, and then I have some cute little house plants and things like that. The help that I've been receiving is from my landlords. They are so knowledgeable about stuff, and I think it blows my mind when I actually tell them something that they don't know, like maybe something typically has been about like different propagations and something else and worm tea that they haven't done. And I just think it's crazy because I think they know everything. They've been in this place for 22 years. They've been in Costa Rica for about 40. So they know all about it. They've been growing all over Costa Rica, and they really, really know their stuff. They had a holistic business attached to here that they've turned into an apartment that they now visit. Like once every 6 to 8 weeks or so, they come for about a weekend. And that way I don't have to worry about tree trimming or anything that's gotten out of hand. They come and just try to help me. And she also has some special dye plants that she does eco printing with that she'll come and clip and take propagations of and dry and things like that and check up on. She does have a few of those plants, and I have them tied in like kind of like that tomato tape that stretchy, I don't know, but it's red, and it's for me to know, don't pull this is an important plant that she would like to keep. They are so much help. Having them come every 6 to 8 weeks or so for a weekend is so great, because I always have questions and they always have something they need to tell me. That I'm telling you, the garden will take over. If you are not on top of it, especially during rainy season, all these weeds, it will take over. So Miss Monica's husband, Bob, he comes with a machete and everything and chops stuff down, and he's going to cut down the citrus trees and things like that, so I don't have to outsource that or any extra income to keep up with the wildness of the garden. I maintain a lot of it, but as far as tree trimming and all that, like really big stuff, they make sure they handle that, and I absolutely love it. Bob also has a seedling mat that I'm going to be able to use, thankfully, and we're going to get this place up and going. But the new goal is to make 2 bucket stands. Hopefully I can find a friend nearby who can help me or has some tools, so I don't have to buy my own tools right away. But I'm so grateful for this place, and I am going to be growing food, and I'm trying to be as creative as I can. So that's basically the gist of it, you guys. I am growing food. There's so much going on, and yeah, I don't want to jinx stuff, but it's just a learning process. And if you guys have any ideas or suggestions or creative ways for me to grow, I'm definitely trying more vertical ways and more ways to creative ways to keep my chickens out of my garden and find just different ways to grow my food. So thank you guys for tuning in and listening to me. I hope you guys have been enjoying my journey. If you have any questions about growing or any of the plants or native plants of Costa Rica, feel free to message me. If you have any questions on how my trip has been to Costa Rica and how I'm adjusting and how travel is, and any kind of travel related questions, I have a travel channel. Not really a channel, a travel Insta called I Can Go over there. And soon there will be lots of videos about going to the doctor and opening a bank and all kinds of different things. So thank you guys, and we'll see you soon. I'm actually gonna go get some stuff done in the garden.